Hello, everybody. This your boy Bobo with Real Raw and Recovered. Trying to keep you all something fresh on the press, something fresh on this YouTube channel. I told you guys from the very beginning I was gonna take a trip through all the steps, and at different times, me and the guys at Real Raw and Recovered were gonna get together and do group discussions on some pertinent issues. Uh, but now it's time to get back into the step work because these next couple of steps is another hurdle where a lot of guys draw back. A lot of guys, try to sweep it under the rug or they go half measure at it. And so, what I want to do is I want to talk about steps 8 and 9. So, steps 8 and 9 are on page 76 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Says now we needed more action. It's after finishing step 7, without which we find that faith without works is dead. So if we don't get through steps 8 and 9, obviously it's going to be confirmed to us again that faith without doing the work is dead. Basically means my ass going to die is what it means. So let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. Now watch. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. Now, at this particular point, the way this is written, I gather at this point, a person might actually realize that his fourth step wasn't as thorough as he'd like to think it was. And the reason is because actually the awareness brought to my attention, or the things about me brought to my attention, are clarified in 4 and 5, but began in step 3. So obviously, it says we have a list of persons we harm and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. So obviously, some of the people on my amends list are going to come from my resentment list, are going to come from when I did my fear inventory, and are going to come from when I did my sex inventory. But that's not all of it, because if I'm really being fearless and thorough through the work, my list will be much larger than what I put in writing on my fourth step, my resentment list, my fear list, and my sex inventory list. Watch. Go back to page 60. 60 labeled after the pertinent ideas, that we were alcoholic or addict and could not manage our own lives, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism, and that God could and would if he were sought. Being convinced, we're at step 3, which is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to God as we understood him. Just what do we mean by that, and just what do we do? Okay, so at this particular point, I have no clue how to turn my will and life over to the care of God, because I have no clue how self-will run riot I am. The alcoholic is the prime example of self-will run riot, though it usually doesn't think so. So I am completely unaware of that self is my problem. I think that dope and alcohol is my problem. Dope and alcohol is a problem because I am a real alcoholic and addict. But selfishness and self-centeredness, self-will run riot is the problem. So the first requirement is that we be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. So all of the life I've been living has been lived on self-will, which means that's why I failed, which means that's why life hadn't been successful. So on that basis of running life on my own, according to my own will, I am almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though my motives are good. And so in step 3, it starts to make me aware of how being in self has negatively affected the people around me. So, according to how I was living by self propulsion, running on self will, how I have been trying to arrange life to suit myself, arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery, and the rest of the players in my own way. How I've used fake virtues, trying to make my arrangements. I might be quite virtuous, page 61. I have been kind, considered, patient, generous, even modest, and self sacrificing, still trying to get my damn way. And it has been offending and hurting people. When things don't work out the way I wanted to, next paragraph, I begin to think life doesn't treat me right, pity party. Then I decide to exert myself more. I become on the next occasion still demanding or gracious as the case may be, still to play. Life ain't gonna do what I wanted to do because I ain't God. Admitting I may be somewhat at fault, I'm sure that others are more to blame. I become angry, indignant, self-pitying. What is my basic trouble? My basic trouble is that I'm a self-seeker even when I'm trying to be kind. I'm a victim of the delusion that I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I manage well. It is evident to the rest of the people in this world and the people around me that these are the things that I want, and they and my actions make each of them wish to retaliate because they're offended and hurt, snatching all they can get out of the show. Am I not, even in my best moments, a producer of confusion rather than happiness? Uh, so this is the how and why of it, page 62. First of all, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work. Next, we decided that in this drama life, God was going to be director. He's the principal. We are his agents. In other words, in short, if I've had a genuine step 3 experience and I've been made aware of how I've been showing up, then when I go launch out on the course of rigorous action in the 4th step and I deal with the number 1 offender, which is resentments, and I get my 4 columns down. So I've got the person, the principle, or the institution I'm angry at, the cause. It affects my, self-esteem, pocketbook, security, causes me fear, personal relations, sex relations, things of this nature. And then when I get over into the 4th column, I'm trying to adopt a way of life that stops blaming other people for the shit I started or the shit I kept going. Some things I initiate and I start and I'm not aware of it, and some things somebody else starts, but me staying hurt and disturbed because I'm disconnected from God, I keep shit going. Uh, then in the fear inventory, it breaks down the fears and it says, we ask ourselves, we got them all down on paper, and we ask ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because, and this is a rhetorical question, wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Well, yeah. I'm not powerful as God is, and I've been trying to be as powerful as God is and control everything, and it has caused me a lot of fear. I had every reason to fear when my brain is pushing me to try to control everything, but my heart knows my ass ain't built like that, right? And so I'm now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. I trust infinite God rather than my finite self. Uh, And then when I get into the sex inventory, all these different relationships and interactions with people in sexual encounters have been completely selfish. I've been all over the place. I've been uh, controlling, chauvinistic, uh, jealous, vindictive, unfaithful, dishonest. I've been all over the place. And so what happens is when it comes time for me to put this list down, I should have had by now, getting all the way to the 8th step, I should have had some measures of spiritual awakening or spiritual experience concerning how foul, how negative my behaviors have affected other people. And so I want to write all these people down. And this list should be far more extensive and far longer than just those people who I was angry with. Come on, let's be real. Uh, the people who I'm angry with should not be as numerous as the people who are upset with me. So every person I came in contact with when I was not connected to God, when I wasn't living this spiritual well life, when I was not connected, when I was not willing to be honest, open, to do those things that please God and be useful to my fellows, and to consider other people other than just me and how I felt, were hurt. Everybody came in contact with me met that some bitch, right? The person who was completely consumed with self, the person who would even pretend to be nice and kind and everything else, still intending to get his own way, the person who could look you in the face and tell you a lie, especially, well, for nothing, but especially if I had an agenda and I had something I was trying to acquire from you or through you, right? So this list should be very extensive, and it should name everybody that had interactions with you prior to getting connected to God. So this list should be long. Now, back on page 76, uh, we subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. There it is. We have created all kind of debris, and it has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. Now, if I haven't the will to do this, we ask God until it comes. But I've got to do this. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any length for victory over alcohol. So what I want to do is I want to show you something that a treatment center I went to some years ago does in helping the person put together their amends list. They give them these cue cards, right? And on the cue cards, as a matter of fact, I have 3 amends left to make from my original amends list. And 2 of them I am currently in the process, by God's grace, attempting to mend. Uh, it's a process though, because these are some extensive damages done, and it has to do with the family court system. It has to do with my son, and it has to do with the woman who currently has custody of him. So, but I'm down to 3 of them, which I had never gotten this close to clearing everything, to clearing every debt, to clearing every wrong, to approaching these people who I had harmed. So on, let's take this one for instance. So on the cue card, after I got this list of all the people that I feel as though I've harmed, which has been revealed to me because I've went through the process of 1 through up to 9, or 1 through 8, and the process of deflation and spiritual awakening has begun, I could start to see the negative effect I've had on other people. So here's an example of one. So on this cue card, we have the person harmed at the top. Next, we have where could I make this amend? On this one, I say family court. because I didn't have a phone number to call them and try to set up an amends. I didn't have an address or where to write and try to set up to make an amends or anything like that. Then under it, I specified the specific harm, meaning the character defects or shortcomings that were in play that they were exposed to that hurt them. And I put down my specific harm was I destroyed our family with drugs and lost custody of you. That I was running on self will, it was dishonest, self seeking, inconsiderate. Uh, and I was powerless. I could during that time I could do no different, but I had to take responsibility for what it was that I did. Uh, he doesn't know who his mother and father is because of my addiction, self will, inconsiderate, uh, and he doesn't deserve to be treated that way. Or if it was somebody else when you were making the amends to him and you didn't deserve to be treated that way. Then you ask the question after you voice the core issue in which how you caused the harm. Then you would ask, is there anything left that I left out, right? On the bottom there. And after that's giving them a chance to talk, and then is there anything I can do to make it right? What can I do to make it right? Now, now let's get into some of the some examples of certain amends. First things first, though, you should have a sponsor. You should have somebody who has been through the work. You should have somebody who has had a spiritual experience as a result of the work and have a relationship with God. You should have somebody who is non-affected by your list. Take your list, and if they do anything similar to how I do with my sponsees, is I take that whole list, and being a sponsor, I divide that list up into start making amends now, make amends later, and I throw away some of it because in the distortion of making the amends list and being so guilt stricken, sometimes I am unaware that the amends I'm planning on making will cause more harm, and I need an outside opinion on it. Not to mention that I need to be praying all around each amend. I need to pray around each one of them. I need to be asking for the right words. I need to be asking for poise so that I could be uh, frank, honest, open, tactful, never servile or scraping. Servile and scraping meaning I don't have to crawl and beg and declare myself a piece of shit, no worthless motherfucker. And I ain't got to do all that. I can state the facts plainly as I see it now because I'm having spiritual experience as to where my selfishness, self-centeredness, and my inconsiderateness or dishonesty had obviously harmed the person. And I need to go into this thing prayed up and under the direction of my sponsor and with no expectations. I say I need to go into this thing with no expectations because uh, the amends isn't for me. The individual and the specific amend that I'm doing with that person is my obedience to my creator and which I'm commanded to do in order to get the wreckage of the past cleared away. Those things have been blocking me from my God. And I need to give the person an opportunity to heal up if they would. And so what happens sometimes is I'll go in there expecting the person to forgive me, and I'll have no clue that the person isn't nearly as healthy as I'm trying to be, and they aren't very forgiving. See, I've got to avoid the grouch and the brainstorm. It's the dubious luxury of normal people, meaning they can stay mad and pissed off and unforgiving, but I can't. And I got to let everybody off the hook. I can't hold on to them ill feelings and squander the hours that could have been worthwhile. And so sometimes I'll go into an amend. There's been times where I went into a amend with that expectation, And it's kind of like when you do your fourth step. The fifth step starts off saying, um, we have put our finger on some of the weaker items. We know in a vague way. So a solitary self appraisal is insufficient. I don't get a clear view of my character defects and shortcomings just because I'm taking a look at it myself and praying. And so I need an outside person to be objective and to not be affected directly by what I'm doing, to give me some uninterrupted insight into what I written down as far as my inventory, right? So the same thing is true when it comes to making amends. I have an idea of the harm I've caused a person, but the truth is, until I ask them, did I leave anything out, and give them a chance to talk? But ain't nothing like finding out how the person felt as a result of what I did from their mouth. Hearing it from the horse's mouth is completely different than what I imagined I did to them. And sometimes people tell you, man, fuck you, man, go die. I don't ever want to see you no more, blah, blah, blah. And obviously it's not suggested that you go telling people I found God now, that's like leading with the chin. If a person could just be honest and claim their side of the street with no expectation from the other person, having sought counsel from their sponsor, having sought through prayer and meditation from their creator, it generally works out the way it's supposed to work out. And that's not to say that it always works out with the person being receptive with open arms and completely forgiving you. Then there's times where uh, I'm still so new to this new way of life that I have ulterior motives in my men making that I am not aware of. For instance, it's very sneaky and tricky when it come time to making amends to like an ex-girlfriend. So I, as a sponsor, never give my sponsees the green light to go make amends to the ex-girlfriends immediately. No, no. We need time for them to start living up to their sane and sound for their future sex relations. We may even need enough time for them to get involved in another relationship where the other person they're involved with may play a role as an anchor for their soul. Because sometimes I'll have a subliminal idea that, I go make amends, she accept my amends with open arms. That might give me another shot at the guts. That ain't okay. That's not okay. I can't continue hurting people, and I can't be using this opportunity to make things right as a vice to do some more wrong, right? Then we have situations where we owe people. Alcoholics and addicts get in the hole. We damn near go for broke out of somebody else's pocket. Creditors, bills be accumulated. And it's so easy to just try to sweep that under the rug and act like you don't owe that. Just leave your credit score on fuck. But the truth is, I genuinely owe that. I got that car, they repoed it. I got that house, I drank up all the mortgage, they foreclosed. I crashed that car and hit somebody. The insurance ain't paid for it. I owe it. Or I borrowed money to go get some dope. I gotta pay for that. I can't dodge my creditors. So beware. When it comes to step 9, this is one of them places where it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest. Uh, many people fall short right here. They don't finish making their amends. They're not interested in clearing away all the wreckage of the past, all of it, and uh, we end up paying for it. Then, then we have a type of amends where we've done such harm, and some of the damage is irreparable, meaning you can't fix it. Ain't no such thing as fixing it. Say you played the part in some event that caused the death of somebody. Obviously, you just can't go running straight to their family and tell them how sorry you are about uh, the role you played in their death. That would definitely cause more harm, and it might even cause some harm to you. Not that yourself is to be considered more than the other person, but then let's say it's a crime committed, and yeah, you owe for that crime, and yeah, there's a chance you can go to jail for that crime, and yeah, your conscience is telling you to make it right, but then you have children currently that are dependent on you to provide for them, or a spouse to provide and care for them, or you have other people who would be affected by that decision, and so you can't go just throw yourself on the mercy of the court just to clear your conscience and feel better. It's not okay. So we need counsel, man. We need people who've been through some of these tangled situations and come out on the other side of them to help steer us clear. I wouldn't advise anybody to be trying to make amends on their own without seeking counsel from the sponsor or whoever would be appropriately equipped to give sound and reasonable counsel concerning making amends. Uh, there are some other pointers here. It says, our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. It is seldom wise to approach an individual who still smarts from our injustice to him and announce that we have gone religious. So there comes a time where I have to consider whether or not the person who I harmed is still furious. Because going to them like that sometimes inflames that agitation. Uh, and then, like I said, we wouldn't go lead with the chin and talk about we found God now and all this. It says in the prize ring, this would be called leading with the chin. Why lay ourselves open to being branded fanatics or religious bores? We may kill a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message, but our man is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set right the wrongs. He is going to be more interested in a demonstration of goodwill than in our talk of spiritual discoveries. And then there's another situation. Now, watch this. Some of us have been in the program before, and some of us have made amends before. And some of the people close to us who have had us make amends to them before are now suffering an extra dose of disappointment, agitation, and hurt behind us returning to active use. And and there's some occasions where under the direction of God and your sponsor might jump back in there and make amends again after you get back connected and back through the work. But sometimes people ain't trying to hear your fucking mouth, man. People believe that your feet do more talking than talk louder than you. Your walk is louder than your talk. And so there's times where the amends should be withheld long enough to give those who are close and intimate with you an opportunity to observe that you are on different footing. In my experience, I found that to be best. And we can't a grumbling I'm sorry don't work. So we try to steer away from that I'm sorry shit, right? For instance, if I owe you $100 and you mad because let's say you loaned me some money that you needed for some bills and my ass ain't come back with your money. Now here I am and try to get clean and it's time to work the program, this, that, and the other. And I think going to this person empty handed without their money, talking about I'm sorry, is the equivalent of an amends. Hell no. No. Hell no. As a matter of fact, if you owe me $100 and you was trying to do your step work and stuff and try to come make an amends to me, I would be more inclined to forgiving you and letting it go and healing up from it if you just brought me my $100 and didn't say a motherfucking thing. And so I have to consider that that's pretty much the truth for other people. I can't show up without your money. And sometimes I ain't in no position to show up with all of it. So we arrange the best deal we can with them and we give them what we can and we make arrangements to pay what we can. I'm currently in the middle of paying back child support right now to a woman that has done a phenomenal job with my oldest son, with my 31-year-old. And, we make arrangements and when she needs something, I'm there for her. When my money tight, she understands. But I have already proven myself to be a man of integrity, upright, and interested in doing the right thing and fixing that wrong. And so we work it out. And so we're at peace. And I'm currently, doing something about that. But I ain't showing up empty handed with a whole bunch of lip service, talking about how sorry I am and I ain't showing nothing. Don't talk about it, walk about it, right? Uh, then there's people who done us more harm than we did them, right? And these are some of the hard ones. These are some of the ones that we probably would much rather not and aren't very willing. And so I have to pray for willingness. I have to pray for the right words. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. There's times where something traumatic will happen where you're the child, or something traumatic happened to me when I was a child, and obviously them being the adult, me being the child, they initiated and instigated the thing that hurt me. So I didn't set the ball rolling. But over the years, I embraced the self pity, I embraced the humiliation, and I embraced the hatred and the anger. And I squandered many hours, days, and years behind those ill feelings. And so now comes the time where I have to consider something other than what I feel. And I did that in my fourth and fifth step. And I considered how I kept the ball rolling. And I came to a place where I was willing to forgive them and considered them uh, sick as I am. And I considered something other than how I felt about it and considered what must have happened to them for them to be able to do such a thing to a child. Okay, now it's time to make an amends because I'm probably gonna have to, for my spiritual health, forgive this person, confront this person, and let them know that I forgive them. Now, I imagine that's pretty complicated, and I want you to know that I'm only making some suggestions. It's not anything like a direct order or advice. Uh, but a lot of this stuff has to be faced and dealt with. And when you get to where your spiritual health is better and your intuitive thought is clear, you embrace and depend on that sixth sense, that vital sixth sense, and your communication back and forth with God is intact, and your conscience is clear, you'll get to where you perceive spiritually what it is that you have to do, as well as receiving instructions from your support group, from your sponsor, from your brothers and sisters in the program, from your brothers and sisters maybe in your church organization. And we all know, though the words aren't used in the big book, that we have to forgive. We have to let go and let God. And so, uh, but under no condition do we criticize such persons. Let's say I'm in a marriage and I go to treatment and I'm returning to the same home in which all this discourse has happened. We've had domestic disputes, we've had all kind of arguments. I've said stuff to hurt her feelings. She said stuff that hurt my feelings. And she's damaged goods at home. She's just not alcoholic and addict. And I'm damaged goods and I am alcoholic and addict. And now I find out some of the things I've got to do. So going back into this household, I'm probably going to have to make some portion of my amends immediately to be able to live under the same roof with this woman in peace. And as I give her opportunity to watch my feet, to see that I'm on a different footing or a better position and living according to some different principles, then some deeper talks and conversations will be applicable. Uh, and then again, uh, what I don't want to do is criticize them and try to point out their flaws, even though it may be actual facts, and they may have indeed done me some wrong. That's not my business. My business is to clean my side of the street. What it is that I did, all of it is all mine, all by myself. And if I am fearless and thorough about doing that side of it, cleaning my side of the street, the way that God would direct me, the way that the book directs me, the way that my sponsor directs me, then I'll see great things come to pass and I'll get to watch a whole lot of damaged relationships heal up. Right? Let me see here. What else is going on? So, again, through prayer and meditation, on page 79 says, we ask that we be given the strength and direction to do the right thing no matter what the personal consequences may be. Uh, we must not shrink at anything. Then down at the bottom paragraph says, we thought he ought to be willing to do that if necessary. That's to walk into the judge and throw himself at the mercy of the court. Say, but if he were in jail, he could provide nothing for either family. So, again, there's some things that's been done by many of us that were done by me that could probably get me in trouble if the right people knew about it. And as much as I'm willing to make it right, I have to hold what I got because of the other people involved who would be uh, devastated in the event that I wasn't able to continue producing and being an active part of their lives. Uh, but yeah, let's see here. Uh, okay, so let's wrap this thing up. Page 83, because we were talking about some situations that we might not fully be able to write, some situations that maybe threaten our freedom. There's some situations that might even threaten our lives and our health. And the concern is about the people that would be affected by it. So on page 83, middle of the page, third paragraph says, there may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter, and there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile and scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. And after that, then comes the promises. Then, because it says if we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurities will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if we work for them. And I bear witness to that. I have experienced every single one of the 9-step promises, and I just cannot wait to come back and record on 10, 11, and 12 and show how adopting this way of life is going to transform everything about you and is going to greatly positively affect everybody uh, in association with you. This has been Real Raw and Recovered. Y'all hit the subscribe. Y'all hit the like. Shoot me some comments. I'm even willing to consider some of the negative comments. I'm not saying that your comments gonna stop anything, but shit, you got an opinion, voice it. Share the videos. I love y'all. I'll see y'all again soon. Peace.